Welcome to GDs, and this is Sweet Tooth, Season 1. Season starts with a virus spreading in the world, which leads to the breakdown of society, and it came to be known as the Great Crumble. We get to see a father carrying a newborn child with him deep into Yellowstone National Park, and we later find that the child is a deer hybrid baby, whom he named Gus. He builds a self-sustaining farm and encloses it with a fence. As Gus grew, his father Richard warns him about humans, and tells him that he should never go out of the fence. But being a child, his curiosity grew, and he steps out of the fence, looking for a deer, whom he believed to be his mom. His father tells him that his mother is gone, and the outside world is on fire, and thus, they can never go out. We later see him burying a box beside a tree. Meanwhile, at the start of the Great Crumble, we are also introduced to Dr. Aditya Singh, who goes to work one day, only to learn that a deadly virus is taking over the world. As he returns home, he finds that his wife Ronnie is showing the symptoms of the virus, and he rushes her to the hospital. Being in the hospital, he gets to see that the newborns are turning out to be hybrids. And no one really knows that whether the hybrid caused the virus, or the virus is responsible for the hybrids. We also get to see Amy, a therapist by profession, and hearing the news about the virus. She isolates herself in her office for a long time. As she gets out to a deserted city, she is passed by elephants, and inspired by this, she decides to go to the zoo, and makes it her new home. Being there, one day, a hybrid is dropped at her doorstep, and Amy decides to take it in. In the present, the enclosed farm of Gus is discovered by a man, and he claims to be looking for his sister. He tells Richard that everyone in the outside world thinks that the hybrids are responsible for the virus, and the hybrids still exist after 10 years. Though he tries to convince the man that he is alone, the man before leaving marks his fence. Richard, knowing this might be a danger for Gus, hides Gus, and goes after the man. But being outside the fence, he was exposed to the virus, and he soon passes away. Gus stays on the farm for a long time, but with things deteriorating, he gets frustrated, and starts a fire which causes a lot of smoke. He was also able to find the box which his father hid, and in the box, he finds a photo of a woman, and he thinks that she is his mother Birdie, and figuring out that she lived in Colorado, he plans to look for her. However, seeing the smoke, the poachers reach there, and they draw Gus out with candy. But before they could harm him, he is saved by Tommy Jeopard, who kills the poachers. He is surprised to find that a hybrid can speak, and is able to deduce that the kid was alone. He helps him repair the farm, and tells him not to leave. He also names Gus Sweet Tooth, while Gus calls him Big Man. Gus, though initially afraid of the man, decides to follow him, leaving behind his camp, hoping to get to Colorado. Despite being told by the big man that he should not follow him, Gus ignores him, and asks him to help him reach Colorado. Later at night, Gus, being hungry, eats all of the big man's food. As he gets up, he is quite angry with Gus, but Gus tells him that he knows where there is food, and we find out that Gus has greater abilities to smell and hear. Following the smell, they reach a visitor's center, and find that a couple along with their son were living there. The mother was able to recognize the big man as a last man, and they used to be hunters. But the big man tells her that it was his past, and for now, they only want food and shelter for the night. The father also recognizes Big Man, and we find out that he used to be a pro football player. But later that night, they are attacked by the last men, who want them to hand over the hybrid kid. The big man, in order to save Gus, takes out all of the last men. Though both the big man and the mother were planning to keep Gus there, but because of the slaughter, they fear for their safety, and thus, the big man leaves with Gus in the morning. The big man reaches one of his stash house, and learns that Gus could smell his medicine. He tells Gus that in the morning, he will get him on a train that goes to Colorado. But he won't be coming with him. In the morning, they leave for the station, and the big man prepares a disguise for Gus. He tells him that the hybrids are hunted, and thus he has to behave as a normal kid in the market, and if anyone suspects him to be a hybrid, he should start talking, as no one has seen a talking hybrid. On the other hand, we find that Dr. Singh is now living in a gated community, with his wife Ronnie, and somehow, he has been able to find a temporary treatment for the virus. But with the medicine being nearly over, he goes out to meet Dr. Bell, in order to get replenishment of the medicine. Dr. Bell tells him that she is dying from terminal cancer, and it is now his responsibility to find a cure for the virus, and not just a temporary solution. she hands him over all her research, but her barbaric research goes against everything that Dr. Singh believes in, and he is not sure if he can continue. Dr. Bell tells him that if he wants to save his wife, then he has no choice. Thus, Dr. Singh has to take over for Dr. Bell, and he starts working with the last men, who provide him with supplies. Dr. Singh tries to find a cure, which won't harm a hybrid in the making. But he has been failing in the same. And his wife Ronnie is getting weaker. They later go to attend a party in their community, and they find that their host Doug is infected by the virus. As a result, in order to curtail the spread of the virus, the community burns everything down, including Doug. Dr. Singh, seeing this and being afraid for his wife, finally decides to use hybrids to make the drug. But he is not able to do so, as the last men have run out of the hybrids. Not having the medicine, his wife's health continues to deteriorate, and a noisy neighbor, wanting to hold a citizen's vote on mandatory virus testing, started suspecting Ronnie to have the sickness. As she goes out to inform the others, Dr. Singh tries to stop her, and in a freak accident, she is killed by their horse. And they cover up her death. We also get to see Amy, who is raising a hybrid baby. And she named her Pigtail, and they scavenge the city together, avoiding the last men. One night, Amy fears an intruder is in the building, but Pigtail reveals that it is her friend Bobby, and she asks Amy if they can keep him. With Bobby being the first hybrid they provide shelter, Amy and Pigtail continue to build a preserve for hybrids. Meanwhile, Gus and Big Man reach the station, and as he goes to buy a ticket for Gus, he wanders off in the market. Gus meets a young girl there, who was able to deduce that he is indeed a hybrid. But the Big Man finds Gus, and as he was about to get him on the train, Gus tells him that he can smell the men who are having his medicine. Big Man, knowing Gus's smelling abilities, takes him to find his medicine. They are able to find the same, but in the process, they were discovered, and had to fight their way out. But before Gus could get on the train again, they are caught by the last men, and they take them prisoner. As the last men were taking Big Man and Gus through the forest, they are ambushed by teenagers dressed as animals, who kill the last men, and rescue Gus and Big Man. The leader of the animal army was dressed as a bear, and she was the same girl whom Gus met in the market. Bear instructs her men to kill Big Man, but Gus tries to stop them. Hearing a hybrid speak, they are quite shocked, as they have never heard a hybrid speak before. Bear changes her mind about killing the big men, and take him as their prisoner, much to the displeasure of the tiger. Bear shows Gus their home, which is in an abandoned theme park, and she tells him that she is the leader of the animal army, and that they have vowed to protect hybrids at all costs. Bear learns from Gus that he is on his way to find his mother, and getting to know about the same, she decides to help him find information on her. While Tiger continues to pressure Bear, as she wants to eliminate the big man. But Bear lets her know that she wants to understand why Gus is protecting a poacher. Bear reveals to Gus that Big Man was once a last man and went after the hybrids, but Gus doesn't care, and tells them that the big man is his friend and has been helping him. Big Man also defends himself, and lets them know that what they know about him is true, but that was in the starting, and everyone was trying to survive, and he knows what he did was wrong, but now he is a changed man. Later, Bear decides not to execute Big Man, acknowledging that the animal army also hurt people. In addition, his execution will hurt Gus, and they have vowed to protect hybrids. But this decision of hers divides the group, and it leads to a coup by Tiger, and she tries to proceed with the execution. But in the chaos, Big Man and Gus escape. Big Man thanks Gus for having his back at the animal army camp, and tells him that he will accompany him to Colorado. Bear also finds Gus, and gives him the last known address of his mother. In addition, Bear, losing her army, tells them that she is going to catch the train, and Gus is able to convince the big man to join her. On the other hand, we get to see the leader of the last men, General Abbott, and he is informed by his men that they have found her, and it turns out that the one they found was Dr. Bell. General Abbott confronts her, and tells her that he knows that she faked her terminal illness, and tells her to give him her notebook. Dr. Bell lets him know that she has left it with her replacement Dr. Singh. In addition, she also tells him that the hybrids are just children, who will be here long after the human race is gone. General Abbott, being betrayed by her, orders her execution. While at the community, the Singhs continue to cover up the disappearance of their neighbor. But the people of the town, looking for her, were able to find her in the clinic's freezer of Dr. Singh. He tries to convince them that she was sick. But before he could get them away, they saw his wife Ronnie, showing the symptoms of the sickness, and they tie them up and put the place on fire, in order to destroy the sickness from spreading. The last men, along with General Abbott, reach there in time, and they put down the fire. The general is able to find Dr. Bell's journal, but before he could leave, Dr. Singh convinces the general, and tells him that he was able to know the shortcoming of Dr. Bell's research, and knows a way of finding a cure. And what he knows is not mentioned in the journal. But he will only help him if he spares both him and his wife. General Abbott, being convinced by them, spares them and asks them to pack up, as they will be coming with him. Meanwhile, on the way to the train, Gus falls into a field of purple flowers, which causes him to hallucinate. He sees his father, and he tells Gus that he is not angry with him for leaving the farm, and wants him to be brave, as other hybrids are counting on him, and that the whole world will see him soon. Bear and Big Man get Gus out of the field, and they are able to board a cargo train for Colorado. On the train, Big Man encounters a friend and former pro football player named Jimmy Fatman Jacobs. Big Man reveals to him that he lost his child and his wife at the start of the crumble. Jimmy, getting to know the address they are looking for, provides them the information on where they can find it. Big Man also helps out Gus in finding the dog, which his father made for him, but in the process, they are discovered by the last men who were on the train. Jimmy tells them to jump off, and assures them that he will stop the last men from coming after them. They jump off the train, as Jimmy holds the last men back. As they were about to reach their destination, Big Man lets Bear know that she can stay with him and Gus if she wants. Being on the outskirts of the town of Gus's mother, they wanted to prepare him for the worst, but Gus sees smoke coming out from a house. As they head towards the house, we get to see in a flashback that Gus's mom Birdie discovered something frozen in Alaska, and we learn that she was a scientist with Fort Smith Science Research, and they bring it back to their labs. We also get to see Gus's father working as a janitor in the research facility. One day, Richard spots Birdie in a bar, and as they talk, they were able to connect. Birdie reveals to him that she is a geneticist, and was upset because she was forced to leave her present research, and is being transferred to another department. She lets him know that she found a unique microbe for a vaccine, and they have been testing on chicken eggs, which could either save the world or could go disastrously wrong, depending on the execution. As Richard walks her back home, Birdie invites him in, and as they were about to kiss, she gets a call, telling her that the military is taking over the lab. Knowing that her research in the wrong hand can do harm, she decides to get it out before it's confiscated, and Richard decides to help her out. As Gus, Bear, and Big Man get to Birdie's address, they find that she was not there, but one of her colleagues, Judy, knowing it was Gus looking for her, invites them in. She lets them know that Birdie went to look for Gus 10 years ago, and hasn't returned yet. Not knowing much about his father, Judy shows them the room where Birdie kept all her work. And going through her files, they find a file named Gus, a short for Genetic Unit Series. And in a flashback we learn that the project which Birdie was working on was indeed Gus. But Birdie got attached to him, and knew that if he is taken away, he will be experimented upon. Thus she decides to get him out of there, and Richard helps her out by distracting the army men. Birdie later asks Richard to take Gus, as she has to return to the lab to destroy her research. And this brings us to the start of the season, where Richard got Gus to Yellowstone, as he learned about a virus outbreak. In the present, Big Man, seeing the file, lets Gus know that he was created by scientists in a lab. Finding this out, Gus is quite broken, as he realizes that he has no parents, and he runs away in the woods. On the other hand, Amy finds that her hideout has been marked, and she realizes that they have been found by the last men, and that the preserve is no longer safe. Amy, Pigtail and the other preserve hybrids get ready to leave, but before they could, they are surrounded by the last men. Amy sends the hybrids, along with Pigtail out through a tunnel, and tells them to wait at the church, and she will be there to pick them up. Amy pushes back General Abbott and his army, in order to give time to the hybrids to escape. But the hybrids are caught by the last men. Although Amy was able to escape from them, but she finds that the hybrids were captured. General Abbott separates Dr. Singh and Ronnie, and lets Dr. Singh know that he has to prepare a cure if he wants to see his wife, and assures him that now he will not have an issue getting hybrids. Meanwhile, Big Man finds Gus, and in a flashback we learn that at the start of the crumble, Big Man nearly abandoned his hybrid baby, but as he eventually changed his mind, and went back to get him. He found that his wife and son were taken by the last man. He tells Gus that he has him, and they could go wherever he wants, and do whatever he wants, and he will always be with him. It is when Gus tells him that he had called the preserve for the hybrids on the radio, and has given them his location, as he felt all alone. But before the big man could think, we hear a bang and the big man falls, and we see the last man coming and taking Gus away with them. Back at the house, Bear, talking with Judy, reveals her childhood memories, and we get to learn that Pigtail is her foster sister, and she remembers when her family was taken by the last man. She also finds a phone in Birdie's belonging and she tries to power it up. While Amy takes Big Man to her hideout and nurses him back to health. Gus is taken to Dr. Singh, but he finds him special and asks the men to bring another hybrid in order for him to start experimenting. As the season ends, we see Gus being kept in prison, along with other hybrids, including Pigtails. Big Man waking up, and Amy telling him to rest for a while, as they will have to get their children back. And Bear is able to connect with the phone, and the person on the other line is Birdie. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.